Kia ora there, it's Politics from Canterbury. We're discussing Winston Peters here. We've got Liam and Jared and myself, Kevin. We are all ex-history type people. And just to kick off with, I introduced it with Kia ora, but it is New Zealand First who had a little bit of a war on Maori names. So hello to all the New Zealand First fans out there. I want to kick it off with a bit of a news item. Radio New Zealand did a disinformation documentary, and they stuck a couple of MPs. So I'm just going to flick this to the camera, and we'll have a look at the start of Radio New Zealand's disinformation documentary. Liam and Jared, who was in it? Who did we spot in there?
Oh, old Winnie Peets and was it
David Seymour?
Yes.
Jacinda Ardern and a swastika.
And James Shaw was in it as well.
Guy Williams ex.
COVID was a...
Gordon Garriman is going to appear in it as well. So, but I got the feeling that Winston Peters and David Seymour were stuck in basically the bit. I'll show you here. I thought that they were stuck in.
Yes, was he with?
Using my glue pen. We've got Winston Peters, we've got David Seymour. I thought they were sort of in the bit relating to disinformation. I think most viewers watching it would have looked at it and seen Winston Peters hanging out with the protesters last year at Parliament. And then it was a flash frame of David Seymour. Do you think, just throwing this out there, it's a state-funded documentary, it's election year, there's 90 days out. I think it could be kind of controversial.
State funded, and Labour is the current government of the state. Wow, yeah, no conflict there. Neutral.
Well, luckily, in later viewings, David Seymour has disappeared, but Winston Peters is still left there hanging out with the protesters. So just
he
kicking
got
out
a lot of screen time for that.
I reckon we might be hearing a little bit more about that documentary and a little bit more of Winston Peters. He is a lawyer, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't send a couple of letters to Radio New Zealand just about him appearing just under that particular bit.
Jacinda had a good moustache, though.
Well, Dame Jacinda these days. Dame Jacinda. What we're going to be trying a little bit of a rambling, a little bit relaxed today, but we're discussing New Zealand First Conference. Liam, you had the five things that Winston Peters running on. What are they?
I can read four of them, because the second one I can't read because I'm a schmuck.
I'll remember it, yep.
The fighting for freedom and democracy against the racist separatists.
Yep.
The second one looks like bark, so I don't think he's fighting dogs, so we'll forget the second one. The third one is levelling up education and health, fighting crimes, and number 5, advocating for the seniors.
Advocating for the seniors, okay. Number 2 was basically talking about, he was going against the supermarkets and banking, big banks,
Thank you. That makes more sense than barks, yep.
So,
wow.
Do you think, I mean, it's good that we wrote them down, because I watched it a couple of times. I couldn't quite remember it. The Greens have got 2 policies, or 2 main ones, which is climate change and inequality. Do you think having 5 policies is a bit confusing for the average punter out there?
Well, he's running on the 3, certainty, experience, and common sense are kind of the general ideas he's running on. Five might be a bit much for people to remember. I could remember 4 of them, and I had them written down in front of me.
Consider his base, though, the kind of people he's appealing to, maybe 5's the way to go. He's kind of like, the centre-right, as you say, and he's proposing a lot of change, which can be appealing to people who are in that sort of realm of wanting to be centre-right and vote for him.
Well, I'm going to give you some history here. I've been covering politics for a while. In 2002, oh my God, I might have got this wrong, either in 2002 or 2005, the memory, Winston Peters did have 5 policies, and I always thought, it's a couple too many, because I can't remember every single one of them. But let's forget my memory. Let's introduce a couple of potential New Zealand First candidates, because not just Winston Peters or Shane Jones, Jonesy to his friends. We've also got, I was looking up, we've got Mahesh Bindra, and I'm a political geek, and I didn't even realise this dude had been an MP. He was an MP between 2014 and 2017.
Former
corrections officer. Someone called former corrections officer.
The second one's also former corrections.
Both screws.
Yeah. Lawrence Turnbull, also a former corrections officer. So if we're looking for a new Minister of Corrections in any centre-right government, we've got two guys that have been down on the floor. Where do
Yep,
people
sure.
go? Anyway, but wherever people go on correction. So Mahesh and Lawrence. But my point there is, look, I follow politics closely. I can't really remember many of the other MPs outside of Winston, Jonesy, and I'm going to show my knowledge here. Ron Mark, little Ron Mark, Defence Minister.
2 of those I know. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do a quick, how many New Zealand First MPs we can name? I'm going to name more, but Liam, New Zealand First MPs. Shane Jones and
Winston Peters. That's it.
Jared, how many New Zealand First MPs can you remember outside Winston and Jonesy?
I only know Winston Peters, man. That's all I know.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you with some knowledge. Jenny Markcroft, she's back. Jenny Markcroft was an MP. You may not know this. You may not have heard of it. She's back on the New Zealand First team after quitting a wee while ago. I've got a list somewhere. I have a list. Sorry, just calling my list of MPs. Winston Peters, Fletcher Tabato, Tracy Martin. Tracy Martin's not coming back for the party. Ron Mark's not coming back. Derek Bull's not coming back. Mark Patterson is coming back for the potential 2023 party. And okay, there's a number of people I don't know. If you want to actually find out who these people are, go to New Zealand First, look up the candidates.
Wasn't one of them an anti-mandator?
Oh, actually, let's talk about that briefly. They have an anti-mandator. I'm not sure if she's an anti-vaxxer or an anti-mandator. There is a difference.
Yeah.
What could you define the difference?
Well, yeah, it's quite simple. An anti-vaxxer doesn't want to get vaccinated. An anti-mandator doesn't want people that don't want to be vaccinated to have their lives ruined. I think. Something like that. That would be what I'd call the differences.
100%. Yeah.
And we don't actually know where she is on the list. And I basically think it's quite clever of Winston Peters. I think it's quite clever because it appeals to people. I think a lot of people like Stuff. I can see a Stuff documentary about New Zealand First being taken over.
Stuff makes documentaries.
Yeah, they do make documentaries, yes. And that will then help Winston Peters to get those people who are, like the 2 or 3%, 4% fringe to go, hey, maybe this is our party. So that's quite clever. Whether she's not going to have any influence on policy. She's probably number 10 or 12 on the list. There was another, Hobson's Pledge. Have you heard of Hobson's Pledge?
No.
No, okay. I believe, sorry, I think Hobson's Pledge is the organisation set up, I could be wrong, by Don Brash to basically get rid of treaty claims. I think that's, because that's another of the policies is to get rid of treaty claims by 2025.
Yeah.
It's hardcore, man.
That is hardcore. Relax. The Chatelain classes upon to be relaxed. From my knowledge, historical knowledge of extreme New Zealand First policies, very few of them actually make it through.
Yeah.
Even if New Zealand First comes back with Shane Jones, and I'm picking they are, you're not going to have those policies. Winston will probably be Foreign Minister. Shane Jones might be Economic Development. And all of these sort of like, do we think, okay, guys, do we think that gangs are going to be, designated terrorist entities? Which is another New Zealand First policy. Is that going to happen?
Unlikely.
Yeah, no.
It's not going to
Unlikely.
happen.
They just gave them $2 million. Unlikely.
I think it would come across as far too much. Oh, no.
So, yeah, okay, we're wrapping this up, and we're going to say goodbye. But I'm just going to leave us with thought. Don't worry if you're out there and you're frightened by some of New Zealand First policies. From my knowledge of covering New Zealand First, they're not happening, mate.
Yeah.
They aren't happening. If you're a gang member and you're watching this, probably not going to be designated terrorist entity.
Yeah.
I want to throw this out there.
Yeah, throw
New
it out.
Zealand, everyone just vote for him. Let's get him in, 100% majority. Let's see what happens.
Yeah,
See what happens.
That's an idea. Well, sorry, can I just say one thing? We're non-aligned and we're very neutral, so I don't want us campaigning for any particular MPs on.
Oh yeah, I'm not NZ First, but let's just get some party in there. Just get him in there, 100%. See what happens. We'll crack it.
Done.
Done.
You waffled way too much.
Yeah,
I
no.
could not, with the exception of when you asked a question of me at the beginning.